Hello, everyone. It's lunchtime here in Los Angeles and 3 p.m. on the East Coast, and I am so delighted to be sitting with the incredible Kelly McDaniel. She is the author of the beautiful book, Mother Hunger, which has been a transformative experience in my own life to better understand and connect with. And we're here having a really wonderful conversation. My book, my memoir just came out, and Kelly and I have had the opportunity to have many conversations around how our work dovetails together. And so it's just a joy and an honor being here with you, Kelly. And I know we're going to have a deep and meaningful conversation. And so I'd just love if you could start us off with sharing with everybody, what is mother hunger and where did this construct come from? Because you created it from your own lived experience and clinical space.
Thank you, first of all, for being here with me, Dr. Kate.
Kate, hello, Kelly.
I love saying Dr. Kate for some reason, especially after reading your memoir and part of your story. I mean, there's so much in there that is rich for anyone who's interested in understanding the impact of how our early formative experiences linger and stick around. And you explain it to us both with the humanity of a woman, but also the dignity and excellence of a neuroscientist. So I love your training.
Mhm.
And your training adds a lot here for the complex issue of mother hunger. And so I think you can help me explain it. But for anyone that's listening that has not read the Mother Hunger book or doesn't know what mother hunger is, maybe this is the first time you've even heard the term. We're talking about mother hunger. We're talking about grief because we're facing Mother's Day here in the Northern Hemisphere. So Mother's Day brings up all kinds of complex feelings that are not necessarily culturally recognized. There's not room for them. So to back up a little bit and to talk about what mother hunger is, I look at this term as a way to name a yearning for a certain quality of love. And this is a love that we associate with maternal care. But it is essentially a love that we need as little baby mammals, as little baby humans. We come into the world expecting to be nurtured and to be protected. Those are the two most primitive needs that we have. So we need nurturing, we need protecting. As we get older, we need guiding, we need guidance. So these are the three essential elements that I came up with that describes maternal care. What it is that as little babies we are needing to develop what we now call a secure attachment.
Mhm.
We can call it bonding, but really what we receive when we have adequate nurturing, when we have adequate protection and guidance, we're securely attached. We feel pretty good in the world. We feel pretty good in our own skin. We do well with others in relationships.
Yeah.
Those folks are not usually the ones that are coming into my office, and I don't think they're coming into yours. So for decades, I was trying to find a name for a yearning that I was seeing over and over and over again, and that's where the Mother Hunger book came from. So as we approach Mother's Day, and I'm thinking about the birth of your memoir, where you're talking so much about the complicated grief that comes from lack of some of those needs being met, and then other traumas that happen, which, yeah.
There's one or two in the book, yeah.
Just a few. It seemed like an appropriate time to talk about grief around Mother's Day, since there's not really a place to do that.
Well, and I appreciate the opportunity to sit down with you and have this conversation. And I know we've spoken in the past about the transgenerational nature of mothering and the patterns of being a mother in the world, and how as children, we don't have that knowledge and that awareness. We do have a deep neurological need for bonding, what I call the amygdala's core values, which align beautifully with your pillars of what we need as children. We need to feel safe. We need to know that we can be loved and belong, and that we can get our core needs met. And as children, we don't understand the larger patterns of how our mother or the mothers that came before them develop in the world around us. And I can remember being around 9, 10 years old and riding my little bike to the drugstore to pick up a Mother's Day card, and just perusing the aisle, trying to find a card that would really help me really earn my mother's attention and my love. and her love, and represent what was supposed to be, and also noticing this experience internally of none of these cards really match my mom. Don't get me wrong, my mom was an amazing woman and she was doing the best that she could, and she worked full time. She didn't have a lot of space to be the type of mother that I really needed or desired, but I didn't understand the confusion internally.
Of course
And
not.
the card and the cards available, that mismatch in my own mind as a little girl was like, what's happening? And I know you talk so much about the work that you envision with the inner child, the young girl inside. And I know it's not specific to just women, it's men too. How our young selves are still yearning. And that's a big part of this mother hunger concept.
Definitely. And just in your story, just that glimpse, Kate, let's picture you at 9 on a bicycle going by yourself to buy a
Mhm.
Mother's Day card. I mean, in that right there is already so much of your independence at such a young age. You're already kind of doing adult, well, type things to go get a card all by yourself.
Yeah.
What was that like? Do you remember?
Well, it didn't feel weird because I'd been doing that for as long as I could remember. We just out the door, we had a garage key. We knew how to get in the house when we needed to. And, there were Pop Tarts and we knew how to work the toaster oven. So it was, and when you reflect that back to me, it's interesting because my own brain kind of goes, but that wasn't weird.
Right.
And then when I think about the work that we both do and what it's like to be a 9-year-old girl or the 9-year-olds in my own life, I go, oh, yeah, that
Yeah,
reflection. And you shared with me that you had a similar version of
I
this.
did. Like when I think about Mother's Day, um, it first started to occur to me that something might be amiss between myself and my mother. I think it's important to know, and you know the neurological underpinnings of this. We cannot know that our needs are not being met. We just can't know it as children. And we're going to survive this and we're going to adapt to this
Yeah.
because we need to. And that
And we'll also internalize that if there's something that's wrong, if we're confused, we don't understand it, we're doing something wrong.
that's right. As daughters,
Yeah.
if we're not getting the love we need, we don't stop loving mom. We just don't learn to love ourselves. We
Yeah.
will twist our personality to
Mhm.
please her. That might be stay out of her way. That might be work really hard. That might mean we find the perfect Mother's Day card. I think for me, I was a little bit older when I remember actually looking for a card. I would go to the store. I must have been a teenager. And I'm looking at these cards, and the overwhelming feeling I'm having is what's wrong with me because none of these cards describe the mother I have.
Yeah.
And it didn't occur to me that that meant something might be off with my mother.
Yeah, what's
It
wrong
was,
with me? Is
yeah, it's like, do I not love her enough? Am I a bad girl somehow? And I think that I would instead try to take a card and manufacture some words. And even that, I know I was doing that in a place that was not associated with my authentic self. I had learned at a very young age how to please her, how to appease her.
Mhm.
Therefore, I knew how to dissociate, and
Yeah,
I didn't know who I was.
yeah, and what you're sharing, I mean, my heart is physically aching for your young self, and I'm thinking about the long-term effects of that self-abandonment, the not being able to go into our internal world and really see and connect with who we are, and how grief just flows through all of that because it's not just a one moment in a drugstore or in a Hallmark store experience. It's a lifelong neurobiological framework that our brain develops that says there's something wrong with me,
Yeah,
that then plays out into our other intimate relationships, not intimate being sexuality, but intimacy being emotional safety and connection in the world around us,
right.
and that
Well,
hungering and not knowing.
exactly. It plays out in our friendships with other women. It plays out in the workplace, and it plays out in our most romantic relationships and with our own children if we have
Mhm.
them. That when we are missing the primitive need for nurturing, which is holding and feeding and touching and cooing. We're missing a sense of safety. Let's say our mother might not have been safe in her home, so we weren't safe. When those primitive needs are not there, our brain adapts, and those
Mhm.
adaptations follow us into adulthood.
Yeah.
And I think as Mother's Day comes around, it's an opportunity that if you don't even know
Mhm.
that some of those deficits are impacting how you feel in the world, Mother's Day is going to bring it up. Because
Mhm.
if you try to honor your mother with any kind of way that feels authentic and it brings up, let's say, some sadness, maybe it brings up some anger,
Shame.
maybe it brings up some longing, but it brings up something that's probably your body's way of inviting you to
Yeah.
tune in
Mhm.
and pay attention to something that's going on inside.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I talk to my clients about quite a bit is how the world portrays these expectations. And we know that social media is such a fine representation of that. And I was having a conversation a long time ago with one of my clients about the Cleavers and that old classic TV show of who everybody is supposed to be perfect. And how that is modeled to us in so many complex and often insidious ways. The
Oh,
what's supposed to be, but wasn't for each of us. And
right.
I feel like a lot of these holidays, and I'll throw Valentine's Day right into the mix. We jokingly call them Hallmark holidays.
Because Hallmark
Or
generates and
yeah,
promotes.
they make good money on them. But
But I think you're speaking to something that's really widespread and why the term mother hunger can strike us in a way that almost feels, let's say we're a dutiful daughter, like we're doing something wrong if we even talk
shameful.
about it. Exactly, because it is taboo to look at our mothers as anything less than perfect, except that what we can do, and Disney gives us this permission, is we can really demonize. So you either have the perfect mother image that is part of our media, or you have this horrible Cruella de Vil type maleficent character that is really, really cruel and mean. And the truth is, both of those representations of who a mother is do
Yeah.
a disservice to how complicated mothering is.
Mhm.
The fact that mothers have no support in our culture, children are not supported in our culture. And this is an epigenetic inheritance of deprivation.
Yeah. Oh, beautifully stated. Beautifully stated. And it's so interesting as you were sharing that. I was noticing when I was talking about my little 9-year-old self, there was a protectiveness that was coming up because, and you probably heard that when I was saying she was working full time, ba, 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 ba. And I'm so tender with my mom. I've been very blessed to have a mother that eventually ended up doing a lot of her own healing work from a long trauma history. And it helps that I became a psychologist. So I've been very blessed in that story. And also, there is that part of me that immediately goes into that young daughter space that says, my mom's off the table.
Right. Exactly. And that happens a lot. In fact, a lot of women don't even come to a place where they can examine the concept of mother hunger until mother is no longer alive.
Yeah.
There's something black and white about the tragedy of death that makes that grief uncomplicated. That's clean grief. But when you have a living mother who was unable to be nurturing or protective or maybe be a role model and still cannot be, even as you're becoming a mother yourself, or perhaps you're going through rites of
Mhm.
passage, like you're getting your period, or you're going through menopause, or you're getting divorced, or you're getting married, and you look to your mother each time, hoping this time we're going to,
Maybe, yeah.
maybe she'll be a mom, maybe she'll show up as a mom, and it still doesn't happen. That can be so confusing. And
Yeah, it's re-traumatizing quite a
And
bit.
most of us will try a lifetime to keep earning it, and this
Mhm.
is what I, refer to as kind of almost a form of pathological hope that
Mm.
we'll keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, because the truth is, what I have found, and science supports this, we never outgrow our desire for a mother.
Mhm.
We
Yeah,
just it
and
doesn't matter
that
how old we
pattern, I call it lovingly for my young self, bidding for my worth,
Yes.
constantly bidding for my worth,
Yeah.
and I'm 43 years old now, and I feel like I'm finally unwinding that through a lot of my own work
Yes.
and reparenting, really.
Well, and that's what it requires.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we have that yearning, and you talk about this so much and so powerfully in your work, Kelly. It doesn't just stay within the family context, the pathological hope.
Yeah.
It's that reaching and reaching and reaching. And so I know even with my late fiance who passed away right before our wedding, we were together for 10 years. And so much of my relationship with him was he did show up and we had a codependent relationship. And when he died, it was like that void just cracked open underneath me again. And I was like, I know I'm back in the blackness of the yearning, and I didn't know what it was. And honestly, it wasn't until I read Mother Hunger where I was like, oh, hot dang. Oh, and it was confusing because I had done, and my mother, she's the first one to say she was not a good mom. She's a great friend. And we did not heal until we were both adults.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the words for it until I read your book. And I know the first time we met, I was like, you're that, Kel, you're that, Kel, you're that. And I just kept stuttering over my words and immediately fangirling you for about 15 minutes straight.
Oh, gracious, gracious. But you know, I mean, your book is so profound, but the way you describe the going from you're preparing to be a bride, you're marrying this love, and instead you end up going to the funeral.
Yeah.
Same flowers, same guest list. It's tragic, but what is so poignant in the story of your first love and this is how we do search in our romantic partnerships for this quality of love that was never meant for our romantic relationships to hold, but we don't know any better. We
Yeah.
don't know that we're hungry for what it is essentially maternal care. We don't know it. We almost can't know it because we've been busy surviving it.
And if we find a toxic love, and my partner John was an amazing human, but our dependency patterns and our yearning fulfilled each other.
Of course.
And both of our mother hunger came together.
Well, and it's kind of nice when it comes together well.
Yeah, we got lucky. but to the point,
really
it
did.
wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy. There was neither of us had an independent sense in it. And now when I reflect on my current partner, we are very specifically independent, but we've both had to do so much of our own work to protect that and go back to our young child selves and say, hey, little one, what's going on? What do you need? Which
No,
is such a big
and
part of your work.
watching you do this reminds me, and it might be really nice if you could demonstrate a little bit of havening for us while we think about Mother's Day, and we have lovely folks here probably facing either time without a mother coming up, with a mother coming up. It all can be complicated.
Yeah.
Havening might be a really nice resource that we can share.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And for those of you who don't know what havening is, it's a beautiful modality that grew out of psychosensory techniques like EMDR or tapping, and it utilizes gentle, mindful touch. So one example is, so you're washing your hands under warm raw water, gently rubbing your palms together. Or one of my favorites is giving yourself a gentle, moving hug. And we have little receptors in our skin that go up to our fear brain that respond to this soothing, gentle touch. Yeah, you can go across your brow, or even just if you imagine wiping away a tear.
Or if you think of how a loving mother might touch a baby.
Yes. What do we do? It's so natural. One of my dear friends just had a little girl, 5 days old, and I was holding her, and I was just naturally using my thumb, just soothing.
Yes.
It's so natural. And our brains and our bodies are designed to respond to this soothing touch. And what is so powerful is when we don't have gentle touch as a child, we can now partner with our systems and bring this touch in and give our mind and our body what should have been. And it's called the havening touch. Like a haven is a safe place.
Yeah, literally a haven is the home that we're yearning for. And one of the things about mother hunger, one of the ways I describe it, it is a restless internal homelessness.
Yeah.
Because if we never found a way to bond safely with our mother, she was our first environment. She was our first home, literally in her body. If we couldn't rest safely with her care, we didn't know what home felt like. And as adults, we may always be searching externally and internally for a sense of home.
Yeah.
So havening is a way we can come home in our own body.
Mm-hmm.
And it can feel very dysregulating
Yes.
if our body doesn't feel safe because we've never experienced safety, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And my first book, Healing in Your Hands, is actually a full program to support our internal partnership through the power and the opportunity of this gentle, mindful touch. But what you just said is so important to know. It's restless internal homelessness.
Yes. Yes.
I feel like I just felt that right in my soul. So I
It's
know my version, and I've seen that with so many of the amazing humans I've been blessed to walk alongside.
yes.
And this soothing, gentle touch is just saying, hey, I see you. I'm here, to ourselves.
That's right. Yeah.
And what a gift. What a
It
gift.
is. And I think this is where the intersection of your awareness of how this kind of soothing touch can bring us back
Mhm.
from that dissociated place where we've been as we learn to adapt to our mother's care.
Yeah.
We can maybe come back to ourselves for the
Mhm.
first time. And so
Mhm.
this Mother's Day might be a chance to mother our own little
Yeah.
hearts that are hungry for nurturing, or they're hungry to feel safe, or perhaps they are looking for a woman who could be a guide.
Oh, I've got you right here.
We have a
Every time I hear your voice, my entire nervous system just goes, and in
um,
your audiobook,
so
ah, oh, it's beautiful. I just love listening to it. It's just like this warm maternal voice of wisdom and love. So,
thank you so much for saying that, Kate. I've been really thrilled with how well the audiobook has been received. Women who have told me they have a hard time reading the Mother Hunger book because it's so triggering, and it is.
yeah,
Um, they can listen to it and digest the material better that way, almost as if it's a hug.
it feels like a hug.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I've read it, and then I got the audiobook more recently, and I remember I texted you. I was just like, "Yeah, I'm carrying you in my pocket."
Oh, I love that. I love that. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for your appreciation of the book and also for your wonderful friendship.
yeah. Well, right back at you. Right back at you. And I know we're coming up on time, and so I just want to share. But all of our books are available on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, all through Amazon as well. Of course, all of your major booksellers. Kelly has a number of wonderful podcasts that she's been interviewed on. You can find them on Spotify. So just plug in her name, and she will pop up. And it is literally just carrying around a beacon of wisdom in your pocket. And so, Kelly, thank you so much for your incredible gifts. And if I have YouTube playlists that have all sorts of havening exercises, I think are well over hundreds of videos. And so, if anybody'd like to learn more about how to do this partnership with their own mind body system, especially in the honoring of the grief that may be arising with Mother's Day,
Yes,
take a moment and love yourself with tenderness and care. And know you're not alone. You're not alone.
exactly. Exactly. It may feel lonely on Mother's Day if you're looking for the right card, or trying to find the right gift, or trying to find some authentic way to recognize or honor your mother, or perhaps you don't have your mother, or perhaps you yourself have a complicated relationship around motherhood.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah,
you may
there's
have
so
wanted to
many
become a mother
ways.
and haven't, or you may have grown children who don't want to be with you. I mean, this transmission of mother hunger has a ripple effect that goes across generations.
Yeah,
So it's a really complicated weekend. And that's why I think we wanted to get together and share a little bit about it's not all Hallmark pink flowers and happiness.
thank you, Kelly.
Thank
And
you so
thank you, everyone who joined us. Thank you so much. And wishing everybody such gentleness and care in this journey that we're walking together.